You're about to see an interview that I did with Dick Hatch on Cornerstone Television up in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. This is the second part of a multi-part series.
For those of you who are interested in this topic, and I hope you are, we've got all kinds of things from American Vision. And this is Americans' Christian Heritage. Gary, you were telling me this is a multi-series on Christian America?
Right, America's
video?
Christian Heritage, 30-minute segments, great for Sunday school class. There's even a book that goes with this. It's on one of the CDs, so it's an easy thing to teach.
They didn't give me that, but you'll give me that for free, right?
I'll send you one.
Okay. And this one you obviously wrote.
I wrote that one.
And what does this do?
It deals mostly with basically a lot of the questions that you're asking that a lot of Christians often have that are never taught in the public schools of our nation. And so I've gone back and dug through original source documents and so forth to try to present a reasonable, honest case for America's Christian heritage.
And then you have more than just this, but I was impressed by this 1,200-page book. You didn't write this, but
I didn't write that one.
This is a great resource.
This book was published in 1864.
Really? It's very old to look that good.
Yeah, before computers. And I have never seen an original copy of this. I only have a Xerox, and that I worked from and got this retype set in a modern font and so forth. But it is a great resource.
Did you really? That's fit. All right. See, Christians don't really, and I say this with every bit of condemnation that I can put together. We pay no attention to character, and we've lost the whole concept of what our citizenship is, how these men and women fought tooth and nail. These guys didn't agree about which toothbrush to use or anything. They were just completely disparate. But they came up with this Constitution and this Bill of Rights that allows the country to function with computer chips. And they still had wooden teeth. I mean,
ivory, actually.
Ivory. Mine were wood. But, some guys had ivory. But the point is, this is a magnificent thought, concept. So I'm playing devil's advocate here, basically to get you to say, what is a right? What did they think it was? I mean, my brother thinks that health care should be a right. And it should be guaranteed by the government. And when I say, it can't be a right, he looks at me and thinks that I'm cruel. Says, what happens to my 88-year-old mother? We're going to cast her out because she doesn't have enough money. If we don't pass this, there are going to be people dying in the streets. And I go, what happened before? They didn't die in the streets before. Where do our rights come from? Where is it that God tells us we have these rights? How do we do this?
Well, again, if you're taking a biblical model, we are created in the image of God, and we reflect something of God's character. We don't share all of His attributes, but we share some of His attributes. And the idea of, I don't like the word right, and I think one of the reasons I don't like it is because of the way it's used today. I like the idea of liberty, that we are given, God sets the parameters of how far we can go. He puts a fence about us, and within that fence, we have liberty. And the founders talked about the liberty tree. So it was fundamental to the individual to be free in a society, to be free to succeed, to be free to fail. This whole economic crisis that we're in today is the result of the government getting involved and telling people, you cannot fail. And so when you go get a loan somewhere, and the bank gives you that loan, in fact, the bank has to give you that loan, we're going to be over here to back you up. We're going to ensure that loan. Well, people just started going to the mortgage companies to get their free money, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are there to pull it in, but the economy goes sour, and now we're left with all this debt. But that's what we have in our society today, the idea that you cannot fail. Liberty's premise is The responsibility is for you to succeed and for you to fail, and failure can oftentimes be a good thing. But okay, my mother's 88 years old. Back then, they had health problems. You brought up George Washington's teeth.
Right.
They had more health problems than we had, but it's interesting. They didn't write anything in the Constitution saying that what we're going to do is take money from everybody in a society to pay for the health care needs of some people. That would have been the perfect opportunity to do so.
As a matter of fact, if I'm correct, there was a big fight about $1,500 way back when being given away from the federal stuff, and they just said, no, this is not the point of the federal government. Federal government is here to protect and for us to agree, but this is up to the states.
Well, that's that Davy Crockett story. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Me.
Okay, the Davy Crockett story was this: Davy Crockett voted for a distribution of federal money to something in his state, and this farmer said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "There's nothing in the Constitution that says to do that." He says, "That's not your money. You've taken money from other people to do that. If you want to help, the fellow who had his house or barn burned down. You give him money, but don't take it from other people, because once you start doing that, now you start taking it, from everybody in the United States for a rail system. They want to do this in Atlanta, Georgia, where I live in the Atlanta area. They want a rail system for the Atlanta area. So what are they going to? They're going to tax you. They're going to tax all Pennsylvanians to pay for a rail system in the Atlanta area that they'll probably never be on. North Dakota and South Dakota and everybody across the United States is going to pay for that. That is not what the Constitution was ever designed to do.
It's interesting because Texas has, and several states in the gun laws have said that, and I believe it's coming up pretty soon, and that is that if a gun and the ammunition are made in that state and kept in that state, that the federal government has no right to regulate it. And they're asserting with this states' rights, and I believe that Texas now is joining into that battle and asserting states' rights. Is that good? Is it bad?
Well, obviously on some things it's bad. I think on the slavery issue it was a bad thing. But now we've been seeing, and then the question of liberty comes up. Why was slavery wrong? Because we were prohibiting human beings who were created in the image of God to express their liberty. In that case, and since slavery was protected federally, I think it was legitimate for the federal government to stop the slave trade. It should have been done statewide, but it wasn't. But it was a liberty issue, and slaves should have been liberated. And it's one of the saddest times in our history that we should have never had slaves in the first place.
So we're kind of walking a tightrope here between one side and the other with the federal government?
Well, I think they continue to bring up, states' rights. We're talking about segregation, we're talking about slavery and so forth. And so it's a term of derision now being used. Oh, we know what states' rights is all about. But there are some states' rights things that are absolutely legitimate. I mean, we have state constitutions. This is the way our system was set up. And I think I would like to see more states say no to the federal government. But the problem is the states are in bed with the federal government.
Well, if you're $180 billion in debt, you're going to do whatever the state wants. We got to take a break. We'll be right back, and I'll make him defend that in a minute for all you libertarians. We'll be right back.